Well, good morning, YouTube friends and family, and welcome to today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader. So today you find me in my kitchen because I have a requested recipe that I want to share with you all, and that is homemade apple crisp. Now you could certainly do this with cherries, with peaches, with a variety of fruits, but for today we are going to be using some Pink Lady apples. So it's a little early in Ohio. September is kind of prime apple season. So these I did purchase from Walmart, from the grocery store, but Pink Lady is a good baking apple. So the recipe, to give full credit, comes from my Betty Crocker cookbook. And I purchased this at, actually I think it was an antique store. It's from 1969. So I was 8 years old when this cookbook came out, do the math. But I find a lot of the old-fashioned type dessert recipes are actually a little better when they come out of these cookbooks. So this is called Apple Crisp. And the first thing you need to do is go ahead and preheat your oven to 375. And I have just sprayed a baking dish. I know someone's going to ask. So this is the QVC Taste Stations. I actually took a look this morning. They no longer have this on the website. I don't know if they make it anymore, but it's so fallish. And isn't apple crisp all about fall? So I will drop in the description box below links to some of the products I'm going to be using. So let me swing you around and down. So what I have here is my Victorio apple peeler. And guys, if you hate to peel apples like I hate to peel apples, because I hate to peel apples, this thing is so amazing. So what you do is I've washed my apples well, and I'm seeing a little fuzzy on there. Okay, go ahead and put your apple on so that the center pegs go through the core. And then this is actually a suction cup, so it will stick to your counter. My cutting board is a bit uneven, so I usually have to hold it as well. And then you just turn. And look, it's peeling the apple for us. And you do want to turn it clear out to the end. And then you'll notice I'm taking all of my scraps and I'm putting it into a half-gallon mason jar because I'm not going to waste those scraps and cores. So here you have your nice core. I'm actually going to make apple scrap vinegar. So technically, and I'm just cutting the little bit of peel that it didn't get off. Technically, if you're using apple scraps, you're not making apple cider vinegar, you're making apple scrap vinegar, which is generally a little bit higher of a pH, so it isn't as acidic. So the next device I'm gonna use, because this just makes things so simple, and it kind of depends on how you would like it. If you want chunks versus slices, and I got some apple peel in here, you can use one of these Vidalia onion chop wizards. So this is what I use when I prep apples to go in the dehydrator because it makes super even squares. So, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't think I'm gonna do that. I think what I'm gonna do instead is actually just half this, because then it gives you perfectly even slices. And I'm gonna start layering these in the pan. Now the recipe calls actually for 4 cups. It says, or about 4 large apples. These are not large apples. And I think it really depends on how much fruit you want. So just to show you, once you've peeled your apple, that's what you have. I broke it. So you can simply cut it in half, and then you have these really good bite-sized half apple chunks. So I'm going to continue peeling. I will bring you back to show you what's next. Well, I ended up slicing about 7 apples, but again, these aren't huge apples. So I had a couple left over from my 3-pound bag, if that gives you an idea. And I do have a jar of lovely apple scraps. And so Once we get our apple crisp in the oven, we'll be making the start of our apple scrap vinegar. So the next thing you want to do in a bowl is put in about 3/4 cup of packed brown sugar. You want 1/2 cup of flour, and let me just grab a fork and kind of break this up a little bit. And I find that the flour is important, but the proportion of sugar, maybe you don't want it quite as sweet. These are pretty tart apples, so I think the recipe actually said 2/3 to 3/4. I went 3/4. So break up any lumps that you have in your brown sugar. Then to that, we're going to add 1/2 cup, and I am using old-fashioned oats, not quick oats. It gives a much better chew, and they are better for you as if you have cholesterol issues, for sure. Now it's time to spice it up, and really this is kind of up to your taste. The recipe actually calls for 3/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Since I have a little bit more apples than what the recipe called for, I'm gonna be generous and go more like a teaspoon of cinnamon. Then it calls for 3/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. So I'm just gonna be honest. Did I just put nutmeg in there? I did. Well, nutmeg is not my favorite, but I guess it's gonna be now. I usually will omit the nutmeg or lessen the nutmeg. I don't know, can I get some of it out? Ugh. This is, thankfully, it kind of balled up a little bit. Oh goodness, and my doorbell rings. About a teaspoon of cinnamon. My apologies. UPS guy. I also like to add a little bit, like a sprinkle of ginger. Oh, not the open container, boy. There we go. Just a little sprinkle. And do the same with ground clove. And again, this is totally up to you. I was able to fish out quite a bit of the nutmeg. Let's see if we can get a little, we'll just go with it. I don't hate nutmeg, but I like cinnamon better than nutmeg. So you want to give this a really good mix. And then we are going to cut in, if you will, butter. Now, because I'm using more apples and just because I've made this recipe many times, I find that a stick of butter works better than the 1/3 cup that it's called for. And you do want it softened. Wow, it's a little warm in my house. So as you can see, my butter is very soft. So let me just start adding this in. I just kind of break it up into maybe tablespoon sizes. Distribute it through the crumble topping. And again, if you like more crumble topping than what the recipe calls for, you can certainly double it or do 1.5 times. You know, whatever suits your fancy. This is not a baking recipe that has to be 100% exact. So I do want to try to get that butter worked in. If your butter's a little firmer than mine, you could use a pastry cutter. And that is my oven, just letting me know that it is ready for some delicious apple crisp. Now, if you're concerned about your apples browning, you could keep them in water with like lemon juice until it's, you know, time and you've got your topping mixed up. But honestly, I don't find that they turn that brown that quickly. So I am not going to concern myself with that for this batch. So my oven is preheated to 375, and you want to bake this for about 30 minutes or until your crumble is nice and brown and you can see that your apples are bubbly and cooked through. I may have to cook this a bit longer simply because I've got a lot more apples than what it called for, but I love anything apple, and I particularly enjoy baked apples. So you could add other things to this. You could add walnuts, you could add raisins even. You could add flaxseed. There are so many options, but I thought I would just bring you the pure recipe as it is in the book, other than the fact that I added a little bit more apples than what it calls for, but I don't think anybody can argue with more apples. So how yum does this look? All right, so into the oven it goes. I'm gonna clean up a little bit and I'll bring you back. We'll start on our apple scrap vinegar. Well, now that we have our kitchen cleaned up and we still have all these apple scraps left over, I am going to show you how I make apple cider vinegar, apple scrap vinegar, pardon me. Again, apple cider vinegar you have to make with apple cider, and this is truly called apple scrap vinegar. It will not have as high of acidity or as low of a pH as true apple cider vinegar. So what I'm gonna do here, you'll see I have the organic apple cider vinegar with the mother. This is the Great Value brand. And I'm going to shake it up because you wanna distribute that mother all through. I have the best luck if I start out with some actual vinegar, and I'm gonna put about a tablespoon of the organic apple cider vinegar with the mother. That will help your fermentation process to speed up. And we all know apple cider vinegar is actually very healthy for you. Go to the store, see all the apple cider gummies and the different forms, and a lot of people are just taking a spoon of apple cider vinegar in water or hot water as part of their daily routine for health and vitality. So now we're going to cover our apple scraps, and this is a half-gallon jar. We're gonna cover it with water, and I'm not sure how much it's gonna take. So I am going to measure, because for every cup of water that we use, we are going to need a teaspoon of sugar. And it is important that you don't leave the sugar out. It's vital to the fermentation process. So here we go. You want your scraps completely covered. So that was 3 cups, not enough. I'm gonna do another 2. I think will be about right. And this is a clean glass measuring cup, so if it's too much, I can pour it back in the jug. No, it's not gonna be too much. It's gonna be just right. You don't want it clear to the top, because I will tell you, when this starts fermenting and bubbling, it will oop over. So about 5 teaspoons of sugar, or 1.5 tablespoons. I'm gonna do it this way. And 5. Now, you can mix your sugar and water together prior. The reason I didn't do that is I wasn't sure how much water. Now you want to stir this. I should have grabbed my chopstick before I started. So we're going to try it with this skewer. But generally, how I stir this is with a chopstick. It's worked better than anything that I've tried. And you do want, as best you can, those scraps submerged. So try to push them down below the level of the water. They do want to float. There are pickle pebbles or like a glass weight you can put in there. Guys, I'm here to tell you, I broke a jar with one of those glass weights, and generally what will happen is the very first time you stir, it's going to turn sideways and float to the bottom, so you're not going to get any benefit out of that glass weight. What I have had success with is using like almost like a votive glass and pushing it down. I don't happen to have one of those on hand, but I was able to get most things submerged, so we're good there. If y'all watched my previous vinegar making, my same fabric, I just wash it in the washing machine and reuse it. We're gonna put a rubber band over it, and then we're going to stir this at least once a day. I try to get twice in. And I'm gonna put it over here in kind of a cool, dark place, and I'm just gonna continually stir it. You can taste it from time to time. If it starts to get mold on the top, you can simply scoop that off. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but trust me, it will not hurt you. And in about 30 days, we will have vinegar, so I will be sure to give you some updates along the way. So let me set this aside. I know if I put things by the coffee maker, they get done because Kim does not go without her coffee. So while our apple crisp, is baking, I just want to give you a couple updates. First, guys, I am so excited. I am so excited. I particularly love fall, and right now we're about to go into another heat wave and drought. Where I live in Ohio, we don't have any rain forecast. For it'll be over a week, we won't have any rain. I'm really tired of carrying 5-gallon buckets of water to my garden. However, fall is coming. I'm starting to see the little signs. We are in August. August is generally the hottest month of the year in Ohio, but I'm going to have all my fall decorating done by the 1st of September because I like to enjoy it a little bit longer. And I've been working on my fall winter prepping. Now, y'all have been with my channel, you know, I am not an alarmist. I am not a person who says the zombie apocalypse is coming, you must have all the things. However, as I have grown in my own prepping journey, I've been keeping notes and doing research and acquiring things in a logical manner, and I am going to do a series on Prepping 101. So this is not going to be fear-mongering. It is not meant to scare you. It is not meant to say, you know, the sky is falling. That's not how I operate. However, we've been talking about it. I'm sure you've all seen it. Look at the price of gas. Look at the increased prices in food, and I'll say household items, household goods, cleaning supplies, health and beauty aids, medications. It's all going up. So I think I will have some great content for you. I'm really excited to bring it to you. And even if you don't consider yourself a homesteader or a prepper, you don't have to do that or be that to be prepared for what could be a bit of a supply chain interruption, or if you're in an area like I am, which we get tons of ice and snow, it's great to be prepared for winter. So I'm super excited to bring that to you. So I'm gonna let that apple crisp finish up. I will bring you back. We'll do a taste test. Okay, it's not really even, oh, you know what? It's 10 till 12, so it will make a perfect lunch. And I also wanted to share the cookbook that I got. One of the reasons I loved it so much is someone took a lot of time to write handwritten notes, extra recipes, notes about very good. I mean, I just, you know, I wonder who it belonged to. And I actually saw the price. I paid $12 for it, which may seem like a lot because I've had that cookbook probably 25 years. But I'm telling you, I have gotten my good out of it, and I don't regret. You can't buy a hardcover cookbook for $12 now. You can't buy it for double that most of the time. So I'm really enjoying thinking about the change of seasons and all the fall things that we can make together, whether it's a craft, a delicious meal, an economic meal, prepping, whatever. We've got a lot of fun coming up. So stay tuned for the big reveal of the apple crisp. Well, our apple crisp just came out of the oven. I ended up cooking it for 38 minutes. Now, and I did use a convect feature. My oven is what I like to call slow because it's such a large oven. I don't know why my oven is slow, guys, but it is. But look at this deliciousness. beautifully golden brown. I did take a fork and test to make sure the apples are tender. And you know, that can also be kind of preference. Once the top is golden brown, if you like your apples cooked a little more, you can certainly cook it longer. I do have juice in the bottom. When I tipped it, yeah, there was quite a bit of juice still in the bottom, so this is going to be absolutely fabulous. A lot of people like to put ice cream on their apple crisp, and another way, which I do not like, is to pour like heavy cream or even half and half, put it in a bowl and pour that over top. Not my particular love, but might be yours. So I'm gonna let this cool off enough so that I can take a taste without lighting up my whole mouth, and I will bring you back for the taste test and final thoughts. Well, our gorgeous apple crisp has cooled, I think, enough so that I won't light my mouth up. And our apple scrap vinegar is ready to go in the corner and be stirred every day for about a month. So it does have some nice liquid in it. I don't know that I can show you that without dumping it on the floor. Apples are super nice and tender. Ooh, that's smoking hot. But let me give it a taste. I've had it a million times, but it's been a while since I've had an apple dessert. Guys, I'm telling you, this is amazing. So the Pink Lady apples I wasn't sure about, but they are truly a great baking apple, which is what the little sign said at Walmart. You know, there's a lot of new varieties of apples, so I wasn't sure about that one. They are tart, but with the crumble topping, let me tell you, they are so good. And by using the old-fashioned oats instead of quick oats, it gives you a nice little bit of chew. And you know what? I thought I hated nutmeg. Kind of like it. Gives a little kick. I can taste the ginger I put in as well. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't already, please go ahead and smash that like button. That lets me know that you're enjoying the content. Drop me a comment below. Are you anxious for fall? What's your favorite fall dessert? Have you ever made apple crisp before? If you haven't already subscribed, I would love to have you as part of my YouTube family. So hit that subscribe button, you know, the one down below if you're on a mobile device, and then ring the bell to be notified of all the new videos. As always, be well, be healthy, be blessed, and I will see you all very soon. Take care.